Oh. Edgar. So Edgar Zeus. I'm just gonna call you Zeus, bro. Zeus asked any gem suggestions for Stella. Yeah, totally. I have a lot of gem suggestions for Stella. Actually, I mean, I guess it depends. You've got a ton of options with Stella. Stella's actually quite a versatile commander. You could use her for raw power. You could use her for or you could use her for more of a utility build. Max amount of bookmarks, it's awful. But, I mean, there's basically you're either going into two camps with Stella. Either you're going into the camp of using a gem that is raw damage, like for a sure hit skill. Because Stella does not have native sure hits of her own. Tried deleting that one. So she must rely on either a lot of accuracy, because people play a lot of the dodge now, or she relies on getting some short hit gem sets. So, from the short hit category, Gemini and Sagittarius are wonderful. Gemini is usually used before Sagittarius is inlaid. Let me turn this down a little bit. Let's talk about stuff, right? Let's talk about stuff. So, Gemini is generally seen as the first gem set that you should use. Reason being for that is it does give 2 hits. So, that's super good. Sagittarius is less useful for PvE. It is much more useful for PvP against players. The reason for this is that when you fight against, say, monsters on the field, like these guys over here, they don't really have great gear. They don't have a lot of buffs. They don't have a lot of HP on them. So it's not necessary to run Sagittarius. It's not necessary to run Sagittarius if you're going player versus environment, as they're not using HP buffs, so you're not really doing any damage, although it will still be, of course, a sure hit. So that's Gemini and Sagittarius. Those are your what I would call the usual suspects. That's really like, if you've been playing this game for a minute, Gemini Sagittarius has been what to run on an infantry main com. So there's that. So you're going to run your Gemini or Sagittarius or both, and then that's one category. And obviously, depending if you're using high tier, if you're using advanced tier, you very well may be using gems like Leo or gems like Scorpio. Again, those come from the same desire to utilize a sure hit. Each of them have their own utility in that Leo does the same thing that Sagittarius does, where it ignores a buff, except whereas Sagittarius ignores HP, Leo ignores defense. So depending on what kind of enemy you're facing, what gear and what their research is, that would kind of dictate whether you use Sagittarius or Leo if you have a Walker deputy class. Scorpio is used for raw damage. It just does a ton of damage. If you're running T10 infantry, or I guess if you're running T11 air, then that's a really good option for you, the Scorpio, it's just gonna enhance whatever else is going on, just by doing a lot of damage. So there's that. Those are your sure hits, and then you've got and obviously, of course, if you're running with a Walker deputy class, you could run a Taurus sure hit. These are options. These are options. But generally, when people look to see what gems they will run on a Stella for sure hits, it's usually Taurus is very low on the list, even if you're running T10 Walker or T11 infantry. The other category of gems that you might seek to put on Stella would rely on the fact that she procs multiple skills per turn to her Wings of Eternity skill, of being a 60% skill. So she's going to proc that a lot, and then that gives her increased chance to proc other skills and also other gem sets. So there's also, like, people... In the past, people ran, like, Ares, whereas I think now you would run Virgo. But Ares, especially PvE, is wonderful on Stella. PvP, you're going to use that more as a disabler build, and that's a very specific way to play out Stella. But there is a place for gem sets like Ares for Stella. Depends. Like, if you're going to tank more, if you're going to expect the battle to go on longer, then you might theoretically use gems like Ares or gems like Virgo. Andromeda is great for Stella, and honestly, I would consider that either your second or your third gem set behind Gemini or behind, Gemini Sagittarius. It's great because it really enhances Stella's one-slot bust capability, in that it's possible to do a one-slot bust, not necessarily kill the enemy's stack, but also escape with impunity. This is relying on the fact that with Wings of Eternity, she's going to have multiple chances to proc Andromeda, and all you need is for it to happen once, and then the enemy skips their turn in that slot. So, super cool. The other thing about the Andromeda gem set, of course, is that it has the best range of stats in the game, being that it can max out at the at plus 45%, rather than the regular gem sets, which max out at 30%. So that's why I say that generally Andromeda is going to be your second or your third set. Your first is still going to be that Gemini, because you do need to hit, unless you're running like an accuracy build Stella, but that would be that would not be normal. That would be unconventional. Not to say that would be bad, right? So, okay, so that's Andromeda. And I mean, honestly, I think those are probably your best options. I think once you start to get, I mean, there really aren't other options. That is what you would use all of the options for. Edgar, Zeus, you got a T9 infantry, 200k Stella. I mean, look, eventually you're going to get up to T11. So, I mean, it just depends if you want to You'll probably end up cannibalizing your set later, because it's going to take you some time to get to T11. And, even when you get to T10 infantry, it's still, it's still the same deputy class. So, I mean, up to you if you go for something like Gemini Scorpio, Andromeda. If you don't have a chance to get 3 sets on your main, I would say go Gemini Andromeda for that short hit capability, and also the chance to be able to escape unscathed with a one slot bust, but also you need those increased stats. It's an extra 15% in each slot that you use that gem. You really need that, because you have to assume that you're going to be facing an enemy who has that stuff, and just you want to be competitive, right? Right. Man, I can't. What gem sets do I use for Stella? I have to go on and on for like 10 friggin' minutes. Use gems. Use gems.